am delighted to have John Ruffolo join me from. Are you actually in Toronto proper?
I'm in Toronto proper, yes.
All right, back in my home country, eh? So it's great to see you again, John. The world's changed unbelievably since we last talked, and but I'd love for you to initially just introduce yourself, tell a little bit about you, and then we'll chat.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Mark. I've been involved in the innovation technology industry for about 30 years in a variety of different roles. The latest being that I've been a venture capitalist for the last 10 years. And I've also co-founded an organization called the Council of Canadian Innovators, which is an organization that today in particular was really driving to help the innovation sector really get through all of the issues related to COVID.
Pretty cool. I know you have a great background. I'm pretty sure we both met aligned with Verde Exchange way back when.
Yes.
Back there, which was, gosh darn, probably about 10 years ago when we first met or something. And you've done some great things, starting with Deloitte and then Omers and being very involved in technology. We always talk about people's why or vision or purpose and whatnot. Share with me what your why is, and maybe more importantly, why have you done and why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, and I remember the moment very specifically. When I started getting involved in innovation and technology, it was actually in the early 1990s, and I would say that was more about being opportunistic in a sector that no one really knew much about, and kind of did it by accident, and really didn't do it out of the passion out of it yet. It was more of the exploration. And then I started to discover, wow, I really like things that change very, very rapidly. I love discombobulation. I actually, I don't like the health related aspects of COVID, but I like, the cleansing that's going to occur. In fact, this is a bit of a long story, but largely due to one of my advisors that I follow very closely. He's a geopoliticist. I've been betting very, very strongly that the second half of 2020, the world was going to go into a global recession. I had no idea it was going to be triggered by a virus, but that to me was a great opportunistic time for a cleansing. What I love about the technology industry is that it is all about creative destruction, renewal, ideas, etc. And I really started to discover, as I started to enjoy and understand the sector, that this is really where the future lies for so many countries, whether it's Canada or the United States. And this is where our youth are very much focused around. So that excites me every day.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up the youth, and there's an urgency. Every era we all want to make a difference when we're young to do something, but this certainly seems like an era that has some urgency to it. Probably a little bit because of climate change, but they really do want to make a difference. And I've been amazed that it's actually taken decades for leaders to bring their corporate brands and align them with social impact. And part of it is because that's the only way they saw they were going to be able to attract those great young people who want to only go where there's leaders who care about that. But it's also been found that it's really good for business. And with your background, you've been involved in the investment arena, as you say, growth, innovation, multiple clean sectors that you've been, engaged in, and even agribusiness and cannabis and so on. So you've seen a lot of the changes from from a Canadian perspective and even globally. This is a little bit of a push question, but how would you describe yourself as, or how do you differentiate yourself as one of those leaders who cares? Again, from your experiences and actually even into the future.
Yeah. So, from my perspective, I guess there's really two prongs to what I really believe in and what I'm heavily involved in. So I do believe, I'm clear about it. I believe in the capitalist system. It's not perfect, but it's the best system that we have to allocate scarce resources. And in times like this, I also do become a little bit socialist on here, that if the folks who are controlling the resources are not spreading that wealth in times like this, this is the time to do it. But fundamentally, you need the profit system to generate the dollars, I believe, in order to allocate those resources. But that's only half the equation. The other half is there really is no prosperity without sustainability. And I would say it's the intersection of those two. And I think a lot of people think that those two objectives are at odds with one another. And I absolutely disagree with it. It is harder for sure to intersect the two. But if you don't have sustainability, your prosperity is short-term and short-lived, and it's a hollow win. So the reason why I think that resonates as well too is, first of all, I fundamentally believe it. I'm the vice chair of a well-known organization in Canada called the David Suzuki Foundation. Mm-hmm. And clearly I am the right-wing guy there. Our debates are interesting, but just change the words a little bit. I don't believe in waste. I do believe that, let's talk about the oil patch in Alberta. Our poor cousins there this is the fifth boom bust cycle. What I want to see is to convince, the remaining folks, but a lot of people are already convinced, if you don't control the price of commodity, you don't control the production, it doesn't do anything for the environment, maybe it's not such a good industry for a future prosperity perspective. So but they are outstanding in understanding energy and resources. Maybe let's use our dollars that we would otherwise subsidize them with and create the greatest renewable energy industry in the world in that province. And we could lever some of the existing carbon-based energy that they have in order to transition them and make them world-class. So the objective is world domination in renewable energy. There's your sustainable prosperity. So it's those two intersections.
Yeah, there's a term going around that we're getting engaged in a lot called inclusive capitalism, if you will.
Right. Yes.
Which kind of, I don't know if it's the absolute right one, but it kind of tells a good picture that, it's where the corporate brands are leaning a little bit to, is they do see that young people do still want to make money. They're not giving up the money. Like you said, you can have both. They want to make money, but they don't want to do it sacrificing the good of the planet and the good of the people and community.
Correct. Yeah, I think, and I could see, I'm hopefully soon launching a new business, and the folks who I have all around me, to pay them well, that's table stakes. There has not been a single discussion on compensation. They just assume they're not going to join me, but it was for the greater purpose of what we're doing. Right. And it's right within not only our constating documents, but you better live it, by the way. And that's the hard thing. And call it out. And by the way, and I keep on saying, if I say or do something that's inconsistent with the values of the organization, you know, you need to call me out. We need to call each other out respectfully. But the one thing that we're trying to build, and I got to tell you, it's tough, but it's so it's the most unbelievable thing I've been involved with. Trying to build an organization from values up, right from the beginning. It's harder than you think, but once you start to get it, and once the team around you understands what those core values, it's unbelievable how quickly the actual tactical strategies start to form, because we already have the guidebook or the roadmap on how we should behave, not only vis-a-vis each other, but vis-a-vis our customers, our other stakeholders, etc.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I work with startups, the Fortune 500s, and you work with startups, and they think, oh, we don't have time to figure out our culture right now. We got to find capital. We got to do this, got to do that. But it's the old story. One way or another, you're branding yourself, right? And
Yeah.
so you are creating your culture, no matter what. And I think you're right. And that's where some good things are happening now, where the younger people, the newer people, and whatnot, they know what they want, and they're making that decision. And I also think, and you can comment on this, there's been a lot of leaders that wish they could care, but they were so under the pressure of the quarterly results and the shareholders that a lot of times they just said, oh, just give $5,000 donation. I don't have time for it to care right now. And
right.
But they actually did want to care. They were human beings that wanted to do good things. So, a little bit of a segue here. My grandparents, and I'm sure most grandparents used to say this all the time, and they were from Kiev way back. They used to say, as long as we have our health, that's the most important thing, right?
Right.
Whether you're Jewish, Italian, Greek, or whatnot, it's pretty well across the board that's what they said. So with everything going on, technological change super fast, COVID now dramatically impacting. We talked a little bit about this before. People have a little more time to think and calm down about what's it all about, Alfie type of thing.
Yeah.
How do you view the future of work, the future of doing business evolving right now, like in the next 2 months even, and sustainably for the future?
Yeah. So it's hard to comment what's going to be like the next 2 to 3 months. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different. I know, Canada and the US are a little bit at different timing in terms of reopening up. But, my guess is by the early fall, both our economies will be, opened up, to its new normal, whatever that, particularly looks like. So looking at that point onwards, I think that we're going to be in an 18 to 24 month recession, very similar to what's happened in the previous 4 recessions. My personal view is anyone who has a notion that this is going to be a V-shaped recovery, I think is far too optimistic. I think it's going to be more of a J-shaped recovery, which is much more consistent to what the past has been. The interesting thing is, and this is going to be part of my new business, is that as we're really thinking about this, unfortunately, I think humans have a very short-term memory.
We do.
And again, I'm paralleling, just using past history. I don't think things are going to change as much on average as people state that they will. Certain industries, absolutely, for sure. Like, I'm fascinated to see what the airline industry, what's going to happen in terms of its density on the flight. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what check-in's going to look like. Like healthcare, I think a lot of healthcare is going to change. Long-term care homes, huge change. What a disaster, right? So you can pick the spots. Now, let's talk about, work. I enjoy being at home, but I also miss that social interaction. we're humans, and you know, we were having a brief chat, Mark and I, before this call, talking about, you know, the thirst for human interaction. Um, you know, am I going to do some things a little differently? Absolutely. Am I going to be a little bit more cautious? Is my hygiene pattern changing? Absolutely. Was way better than I was. So I think what we'll do is that, you know, when people have been calling up, you know, no one's going to be working in commercial buildings anymore, and it's over. Like, yeah, okay. You go ahead and think that. Now, will the density levels be the same? Probably not. Will the entrances be different? Will they might have some different testing things? Might there be PPE? Might hoteling, which I always thought was a horrible idea from a culture killer perspective, will that go away? Probably. Um, you know, will people have a little bit more redundancy? Will people have a little bit more flexibility that if you want to work from home because that's your preference? I think people are going to go, you know what? I can see you're just as productive. So those sorts of things are going to change, but I don't think it's going to be this massive discombobulation that people are expecting. And again, the next few months, I think it's going to be very similar to what we're seeing right now. But once people after work are starting to go and get their beer after work and see with the colleagues, you know, you watch, maybe they won't share each other's glasses anymore or take a drink, but I think it will go largely back, and again with some extreme exceptions.
Yeah, no, we do have short memories. I do think, and you can comment on this too, that that leaders of organizations are definitely going to now realize they have to pay a lot more attention. They have to care more about the
Yes.
financial well-being of their people as well as their physical, and we talked about this, and their mental health and their
Yeah.
mental well-being.
Men-
Because if they don't have programs like really do care about it, the talent again won't go there or stay there, and the talent won't be able to perform, and there'll be a lot of problems. So I'm sure you see that impacting business, but also even impacting community in general.
yeah, no question. You know, you saw the blowback, say, from Amazon, where a couple of the warehouse workers uh, seemingly were very concerned about their personal safety, and they were dismissed and summarily fired. Like, absolutely unconscionable if all those facts are true. And I think that needs to absolutely change. And you know, the amazing thing, and things like you were just touching on it, benefits. Uh, you know, virtual care is going to be more acceptable now. Mental health. This is going to be this is, I think, is going to be the silent killer after this, and we better address that issue. Well, do employers have plans for their employees taking care of this sort of stuff? Have they even thought about this stuff? And when you think about it, again, let's go back to the capitalist viewpoint. If you focus in on the healthcare of your people, you know, somebody asked me this question one time: is it your employees first or your customers first? And you know what? I strongly believe your employees first. Why is that? You take care of your employees extremely well, like gold, they will take care of your customers for you. It's that order. And you're seeing it in Amazon. And I'm hoping that, and I am seeing a lot of leaders that are realizing, oh, I better pay stronger attention. But this is the opportunity to create stronger, more competitive organizations. And when the employees care about who they're working for, way less turnover, way less problems. You know, you got to satisfy them with the money, but they're not focused in on the last dollar. They're focused in, are you going to take care of me when things go badly like they just have right now?
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree. And if you use the sports analogy again, it's the coach that cares about the player will find a player that will be so loyal to that coach. And even if he makes a mistake, he puts him back on the ice or the field, and the player will do anything for that coach. And kind of related to what you just said, not to name drop, but I was had the good fortune of being with Richard Branson a little bit end of last year. And one of the conversations, it was about the future of work. One of the conversations was, how come people aren't saying anymore, as when we were kids, that they're proud of where they work?
Right.
You might hear, I like it, I like this person happened. But he said, we were talking about it and it came up, we need people to be, again, proud of where they work. It's a different era, but it should still be.
You know, that is a interesting concept. But let me give you what's going to probably make that or put pressure against that. And it's really one of the results of technology. You know, one of the things on the future of work is the future of work as your status, and more
Right.
companies are looking at the gig economy as an opportunity that you don't have to take care of your workers, and it can be more profitable. And you know, the it's both an opportunity and a cost. The opportunity is, if that statement is true, are we a generation away of the whole notion of what it is to be an employee goes away? And in fact, are we going to really be a society of subcontractors? And you're basically an independent contractor. As an independent contractor, I might hire other independent contractors, which is now, that becomes my business, or I'm selling my services, you know, to a variety of different businesses. And if that vision is true, then the loyalty is completely broken, and the only loyalty you really have is to yourself and to your family in that circumstance. And technology has become a big enabler to make that happen. And I would say COVID has probably pushed that even more.
Oh, sure.
You know, we're on Zoom, right? I know you and I have used Zoom for years, but even I would say, you know, when I go to board meetings, I always believed I needed to go in person. You know what? Maybe I'll gonna zoom in one or two of those
Sure.
now. And I'm even pushing it, but there's been a lot of folks, and I've heard a lot of business leaders say, holy cow, we have all of this infrastructure for these employees, and we discovered that with technology, they could be working at home and we could be saving a massive amount of dollars. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to take the next step and say, well, why do they have to even be employed by us, right? So there's a little bit of the double-edged sword.
Yeah, and it's partially there already. I would just venture to say, as we conclude what could be part one of a series here, who knows, that there's still this thing about belonging, and we talked about this a little bit. Our heart and soul is most filled by belonging to a community, belonging to a team, belonging, and I think some of that can still be achieved online, but it's something people need and want to be part of something. And the difference between a consultant and an employee is the consultant often doesn't get to hold up the Stanley Cup and winning the championship. The employee does.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, my team and I, we have our Zoom Monday calls, and I'm glad to see them, but I can't wait to hug them. Like, I
Exactly.
share with them. And you know what I miss the most is those serendipitous conversations where magic happens, right? Or, you know, they mention something about their kid or what happened at home. You know, it is funny. My productivity levels have never, ever been so high. And yet my satisfaction is not as high. And yet my productivity is the highest it's ever been. Um, you know, I do miss that human interaction. I can't wait. I'll be more conscious about, not being silly about it, but I do think that most humans will crave this. And, this is what I'm looking most forward to is getting back together and physically seeing the team.
I'm with you there. I think we're not only craving it, but we're appreciating it more for what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, John. It's always great to see you, and we'll talk soon.
Great. Thank you very much.